Hello and welcome to another episode of the UpLevel Martial Arts Community Podcast. My name is Jason Guyton. Thank you for joining us. In this episode, we sit down and talk with Mr. Tim Wegert in a get-to-know. We get to know him as the new CEO of UpLevel, his excitement for the upcoming new cycle, as well as his travels and his experiences in his World Championships. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode with Mr. Tim Wegert. Mr. Tim Wegert, how are you, sir?
I am doing well, and I want to first of all thank Zoom. I just got a notification, like pretty much asking for consent, like, hey, this is being recorded. I think it's very nice, actually. So it makes me feel like, oh, perfect. Thank you for warning me. I'm so excited to be here with you, Mr. Guyton.
Good. I think they actually do that for wiretap laws. Like it's illegal to record somebody without their knowledge. So.
In the season of social media, I feel like it's always a little bit risky, like recording things and putting online, because you know what happens. They'll pull up something from 15 years ago. Look what he said here, and it's like, whoa. So in that way, I'm like, it's a good mental reminder. Ooh,
to expand on that thought, I thought the same thing. Like whenever I go to even put a picture of my son or something up on social media, I'm like, is there something in the background? Is there any way that this can come back to haunt me in any way? Like I just want to put a picture of my dog up, but
I know. It's interesting because recently, and I think we're going to get into some of it, you mentioned social media. Recently, for those that have been watching, and our goal is to get this out pretty quickly. So a little bit of a new life change for me is I'm posting much more on social media. Have you noticed?
I have.
I'm doing Insta stories, and I was the person that like made fun of the people that did the Insta stories. I'd be with them and I'd be like, why are you always posting stories? Like, can you not be present? And now I'm the one like, wait, I need to document this. I need to create content, because I'm really in the mode of being passionate about sharing more and being bold and confident to do so.
I have noticed that. In fact, I had, as a student here in Charlottesville, before you left to become CEO, I had always thought you were very reserved, very calm and controlled and everything along those lines. But on social media, especially lately, you're just like, I'm just putting it out there. I'm letting my light shine. And, if it's too bright for you, you can always unsubscribe or unfollow.
Oh, go guys. I need to hear this because here's the truth. This has also been scary for me. Because as I've gone more public, I've also gotten more of both. I've gotten more scrutiny and like questions, and I've also gotten more support. So it's comments like that from you that are actually really nice. And the direct messages that I get, or the comments like, hey, I like this, like keep going. It's like, thank you. Wow, because it feels scary sometimes to be, so I'll say like, honestly, what I'm recognizing, I just had lunch with the Indian Land team. Shout out to the Indian Land team, Mr. Marshall Barnes and Miss Judith King, Mr. Huddleston, Mr. Mooney, Miss Ava, great team over there. And I'm sure I'm forgetting some, I apologize. In particular, Mr. Barnes and Miss Judith, I look up to so much as leaders, as people who have gone against the grain. And I just had a lunch with them, and it was validating for me to hear them explain, like, Mr. Tim Wegert, the road of a leader is a lonely road. Like, and I think this is wonderful that this is a UpLevel related podcast, and I'm excited because I think we can talk about anything today. I'm excited about posting this on my Facebook. I think my friends and dancers would enjoy, and UpLevel community, would enjoy it. And if not, if they don't enjoy it, unsubscribe or go watch something else. I'm recognizing that in UpLevel, it's literally in our tagline, forging leaders for life.
Yep.
It's a bold statement. And I'm so honored to be at the tip of the spear with UpLevel, figuring out what's next and what's new. And I'm so passionate right now about helping our community get back to being the biggest, boldest, baddest leaders that we can.
That's fantastic. Like you are the final UpLevel Wegert. I know there's a lot more Wegerts out there that I haven't met, but
Mhm.
we've done episodes. Sam's been on the episode a few times, or the podcast a few times, doing like State of the Communities, which this is one of. William's been on a few times. Your sister Abby, and also your dad has been on one before.
Wow.
So you are the last one. And like I said, I'd always thought you were kind of reserved, but you know, you're putting it all out there, and it's fantastic. Now,
Thank you.
yes, sir. Now you are down in Charlotte now, and you are the CEO. In fact, you left Charlottesville just as I was entering into the advanced class. So you ripped me off, man. I was looking
Oh,
forward to
I'm
learning from
so
you.
sorry. Wow. For those of you that don't understand, so I lived in Charlottesville for 8.5 years. I ran the UpLevel martial arts there. And for the last several years, I was just teaching the advanced and the black belt classes because I was fortunate enough to have an amazing team underneath me that was crushing goals, running the school. And by the way, that's part of, for me, what it means to be a leader. It's like learning how to not do all the work.
Very much so.
It's so
Delegation
hard.
is very key.
Delegation, yeah, it's so hard. So Mr. Guyton just moved up to my class, which is kind of a big deal. People would see, like, oh, Mr. Tim, we can teach those classes. That's going to be exciting. He just got there, and then I announced that I was leaving. I
Yeah,
left
and of course, I'm
Charlottesville.
just giving you a general ribbing on the you ditched me. But Mr. Bushy's been doing a fantastic job, and honestly, Jayon and Jillian are killing it. I
Yes.
get to go on Friday afternoons when they teach, and it's been tremendous learning from them, and for them to be
Yes.
such active young people doing such big and bold things, it's pretty impressive.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes. The Bushy's been such an amazing part of that team and that school. It's been an honor to work with him for several years. Mr. Guyton, I'm not sure actually if you know a little announcement recently, and we can talk more about this later as well, but Mr. Bushy is actually no longer with UpLevel. So you know how seasons work, life works, like we think one thing and then something else. It was a shock to me too. Honestly, it was kind of a shock to everyone. So I wish him all the best. And I just texted him yesterday actually. And also I want to give a shout out to Miss Kat, who's really stepped up into a massive leadership role. Oh, speaking of delegation, Miss Kat, she's ran businesses before. She's such a badass. Like Miss Kat is one of those people too that you're like, oh, she's
Gentle,
so quiet and reserved. No, she a warrior, and
gentle
she
warrior.
a gentle warrior when she needs it. But she also has this other side that if you're special, you get to see of like, oh, that side of Miss Mama Bear Cat, I would call it. So I want to give her a shout out because she's done a tremendous job of bringing together the UpLevel Charlottesville community in a way that honestly is really exciting for me to watch. And these teenagers, that's one thing I love about UpLevel is we are an apprenticeship school. Mr. Guyton, did you know that I didn't go to college?
I know that you had a full ride and you turned it down to be a full-time karate instructor. I
I
do know
had a
that.
full ride based on my dad being a badass and being a dean at a university and working there for 35 years. He's still there. I had a full ride and I didn't go, and neither did several of my siblings because we had a different path that we were passionate about. And I'm so excited because right now this is the season that I'm on is for myself and then therefore for my communities, dance, martial arts, personal, trying to be really confident about being different, being a leader, forging the path, making the way. And one reason, of course, is just because we're coming out of COVID. So the whole world for me feels a little shooken up and we're like, oh, it's spring. Things are getting back to, well, what's going on? And I'm feeling some quivering. You've seen it, like there's just the unsuredness. Some of us, not all of us.
Yeah.
And I think right now is a season for all of us to be passionate about the right thing and moving forward and being a leader in our life.
There's a word for that. And I'll get to that in just a second, but I want to follow up to what you said about your dad and how my understanding is he was very supportive, even of you not going to college. Like when you said, this is what I want to do, that he recognized commitment and determination in your own voice and the voice of your brothers and sisters. And he, as a very wise father, said, I support you, rather than condemning a path that might not have been society's way. Is that fair?
100%, 100%. And I got to give them a huge shout out for being different. My parents homeschooled us. They got a lot of flack for that. They did things differently with child rearing. You know, I was born at home, like in a home. Like I was almost born in the toilet. This is my parents are not normal. They are different. And I want to give a huge shout out and a thank you to them for giving us space to be different as well.
Great. All right. So let's get back, hyperlink back to the word I was going to tell you. I don't know if you've ever heard this word or not, but
I'm going to write it down.
It's zeitgeist.
Zeitgeist. What?
Zeitgeist. Oh, there's a ZEITG.
Oh. Hold on. Give it to me again. This is our word of the day, people. Write it down.
Word of the day. ZEITG.
Okay.
G.
G.
EIST.
Zeitgeist. Okay. This phonetically, this looks more correct to what you were saying for sure. Zeitgeist. Okay.
Zeitgeist is a collective feeling.
Oh.
It's like just the way that we all felt during COVID. You know? And so it's neither good nor bad. It's just the way that it's a shared community feeling. Let's see if that's a proper definition.
Thank you, because I actually would love that.
Here it is.
I'd love to use this word.
It's the defining spirit or mood of a particular period of history as shown by the ideas and beliefs of the time.
Okay, read it one more time slowly, please.
The defining spirit or mood of a particular period of history as shown by the ideas and beliefs of the time.
Wow, we're definitely like zeitgeist is a perfect word.
Yeah.
It's almost like
everybody felt
right now.
Yeah, everybody felt, 2 years ago when COVID first started, like, oh my gosh, do I go to the grocery store? Do I not go to the grocery store? Do I wipe everything down? Do I not wipe everything down?
Sorry
Some
for
people
the noise in the background.
Don't worry about it. So, and now it's everybody's like feeling this sense of relief that we can walk around without a mask on, that we can go to a restaurant and sit down and not feel like we're going to come away having to live in a plastic bubble. The feeling of relief is what I would call the zeitgeist right now, that we're finally able to emerge and spring into a new season in our lives. And just for the listeners and viewers, if you're watching this on YouTube, this is totally unscripted, so we're kind of riffing.
100%. I'm really curious who will listen to it. So Mr. Guyton, for those maybe watching, tell us a little bit about the purpose of maybe even this podcast in general, but in particular, even this episode, like what are we doing?
Yeah, well, I took an interest in podcast a few years ago, probably like 5 years ago. And I really like to figure out the puzzles of how things work, and started watching some YouTube videos on how to create your own podcast. And I was actually thinking about creating one of my own. And I just didn't know if I had an audience. So that was about the time I was, up-leveling it at UpLevel. And I kind of just reached out to Sam and said, hey, have you ever thought about doing a podcast? And he was like, absolutely, 100%. He texted me back right away. And so we started it in February 2020, so just before the pandemic started. And so, podcasts have meant a lot to me. They, are tremendous amounts. There's a tremendous amount of information out there. I like the self-help motivational type, and that's where I'm kind of driving this one to be. And I'm even more steering this more for the kicks, more from the kicks and the punches to more of like a leadership showcase.
Perfect.
And hopefully one day somebody out there in the listening audience will say, hey, I could probably do just as good, if not a better job of him. And as I get my black belt and decide to move on, someone can take over the reins of what I've kind of pioneered here. So that is something that Sam and I talked about, and I was going to talk to you about off camera, but hey, man, it's out there now. So.
Wow, that's so interesting. I love this. I love that you're doing this. This is, I'm sure it was scary to start. You didn't know if people were going to listen, watch, if you had an audience. Yeah. This is real conversation, and I'm finding this is what people want. It's who we are as humans.
Like the first one, I think I did like a 1-minute introductory video, had the my camera set up here and I was trying to do it and I was trying to figure out how to work the different software programs. And, like the software I use, there's nothing special. Like I use my MacBook is 8 years old, actually might even be older than that. And it's the software that comes on it. I record off of Zoom, I edit in iMovie, video becomes YouTube, audio becomes the MP3, which becomes the podcast. So nothing super special. And hopefully, as I get my black belt in the next year or so, I think I'm at black with green. So I have 4 more belts to go. And I'm ready to get back in.
At least a year left.
Okay.
Yeah. If you do it on time and you're all set a year from now.
Yeah, I took a little time off just because everything during the pandemic got a little bit too much. And what started as I just can't finish the cycle turned out to, well, I'll start at the next cycle. And then
of course
you missed a little bit. Next thing you know, I was out of it for a year. And like I should be a black belt by now, And
we all had
here.
That,
you were actually,
COVID.
You were actually here in Charlottesville when I went back, and I got student of the day.
I remember, and that's when I was reminded about the podcast. I was like, Guy, we got to do this. Why have I not been on this? What are we doing?
Yeah. So,
and Guy was like, I emailed you about it like 2 months ago, and I was like, oh. So things are busy, lots going on. Thanks for having me on, and
of course
forgiving me for not responding to your previous email.
Cool. Absolutely.
Where do you want to take it from here?
Let's see. Well, we're at the end of it. Let's see. We already talked about, like the normal questions we have. We can get to those at the end. I mean, I know you're huge in the. We know you've been a world champion like 3 times. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and what does that mean? Like, why haven't?
I'd love to explain that actually a little bit, because I think probably a lot of people don't understand. For me, I think about it a little bit, even like the Super Bowl. It's funny, right? You win the Super Bowl and they're like world champions, and then you're like, wait, did people from other countries like compete? This is all just the U.S., But at the same time, it's like, oh, that's the world championship of that league, So the league that I won my titles in is the NBL, the National Black Belt League.
Okay.
Anyone from around the world can compete, though it's mostly North America and South America. Those are kind of what competes for it. It's really cool because it's the only structure in North America that has a almost, you could say, kind of like the Super Bowl. Like, you play games, you go to tournaments throughout the year, you earn points, and then there's one final tournament at the end of the year called the NBL World Games. It's always held it was between Christmas and New Year's, which is always an interesting time. And everyone goes and you compete, and like that's where the best are competing that year, going for the titles. So that year, can I share a little bit about my journey to that?
Please.
Oh, because I think some people look at that and like, wait, what? This was something, since I was a martial artist and I was training, this thought started growing in my head based on me seeing other people around me that had competed at a world level. Shout out to Master Ali, Master Arthur, Robert Turner, Master Elliott, real competitors that would go out there and push and train, and I had some great role models in that way. And even hearing, let's say, Master Ali was a world champion, it was like, whoa, he's a world champion? Like, that would be cool. But then it feels like, you're just a kid. You're just a kid doing karate. Like, you can't win a world championship. So this goal grew throughout years. And then I decided one year, it was in 2012. Wow, 10 years ago, a decade ago. So I was
Goes
18,
fast, doesn't
18,
it?
19. Sorry?
Goes fast, doesn't it?
It does. I put out a post. I believe it's 2012. I could be wrong. And I made it public, which was very scary for me. I said, I have decided that I will win a world championship. And I had a picture of me kicking. And I decided, like, you know what? I just need to say I'm going to do it. I need to commit, because I'm the type of person that I won't say I'm going to commit unless I'm actually going to commit. And then the things that I say I commit to, I do them. Like, hands down, I do them. And it's a pet peeve of mine when people like commit to things and then don't follow through. And it's like, you're lying to yourself. You're not building confidence in yourself. Now, that is not to say that I've accomplished everything that I've ever thought of, because I'll have grandeur ideas. I want this. That'd be so cool. But the things that I'm like, I'm going to do this. I either do it or I put it on pause. Yep. And that's what had to happen with my world championship for a long time, was just pauses because of injuries mainly. So in 2012, I was training hard. I was competing. I wasn't doing great, honestly. Like I wouldn't have won that year. And I think it was actually, I competed that year, but I wasn't planning on going to the World Games. I knew I wasn't going to be ready. In 2014, I was training. I was doing better. And then towards the end of the year, I sprained my ankle really bad training. And it just, at that point, you're like, there's no way I'm going to be at world-class level in like 2 months. Like what I was competing in was forms in particular, and I was fighting as well. So I was doing 4 divisions. I was fighting, and which is point fighting, like we do in it's sport karate fighting. So it's not full contact. It's like how fast can you be? If you want to see a great point fighter, look up Raymond Daniels. He's also fought now full contact a lot and kind of professional kickboxing and things. But sport karate world is so fascinating. But my specialty was forms. And here's the big reason why is I didn't really have anyone to train fighting with. I didn't have someone that I could continually hit the mats with. But forms I could train all day by myself. And I really like the extreme forms. So instead of the traditional old school, I wanted to flip, spin, jump, kick, land in a split, jump up, yell as loud as I can, go again, extreme. So I did musical forms and synchronized musical forms and forms that you weren't allowed to flip in, but you could still be fancy, just different divisions.
That's awesome.
And in 2017, I decided it's time. My ankle was better. I had to put it on pause for a couple of years. I was working, I was building the school. 2017, I was like, it's time for me to accomplish this goal. Once again, this is already after a couple of years of going for it. And I started training and I started competing and I was starting to win. I was starting to win not only my division, but then there's like all the winners of the divisions. You compete together for like a grand winner of the tournament, like tournament champion, reminds me of Knight's Tale, the movie, tournament champion. So then I started getting close to like that level that I was like the best at the tournament. This wasn't the World Games yet, but you got to win the little tournaments if you're going to win the big tournaments. If you're not winning the little ones, there's no way you're going to win the big one. Oh, I was getting good. My last performance, actually, funny enough, I think in South Carolina, that I did, it was my best form. And I think people were starting to look at me then like, oh, he's got a chance. Ooh, the other competitors were like, oh, Tim, this is a different level. Because I was really pushing hard. I was training on my own consistently. And then I did something silly. And in class, while I was teaching class, I wore shoes on the mats, which is a no-no. And I did a double jump spin kick where I jumped, spun, kicked, landed on both feet, and then instantly went into a second one. And the torque in between with the shoes not being able to pivot just completely severed my left ACL. I went down instantly. The Dr. Dita, shout out to him at UVA. He's in a ton of amazing sports ACL reconstructions. It's kind of a specialty. He said it was one of the most violent tears he had seen. Wow. Can you believe that? Right? And he's like, for an athlete, he said it was just like, just
exploded.
Gone.
Wow.
I mean, the kicks that you're doing and the amount of torque and force when you're jumping and spinning, I want to do one right now for you, but I'm not warmed up, so I need to learn my lesson, is insane. And it just, and it was heartbreaking.
I bet. The
whole season just out the window. You've been training, you've been competing. It doesn't matter how well you did 2 years ago. It's a Super Bowl. It doesn't matter how close the Chiefs were the year before. Then your ACL goes out and you're like, okay, that's not going to be something that's going to be fixed in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It was a year before I really felt like I was back to that level of even being able to jump as high as I could before.
Yeah.
So with that being said, to finish up the story, I apologize. I think I messed up some dates. The ACL happened in 2014. I explained 2012 a little bit. I think 2012 was the ankle then. 2014 was the ACL. 2017, I decided, let's do it again. Here we go. Wow. It was 3 years later.
Wow.
Because I was a year just to build the ACL up. But then I was like, I'm running a school, I'm dancing, I'm in a relationship, I can't just focus so much. 2017, I was like, it's time. And I pushed and I trained. Mr. Guyton, I was smarter though. I knew more. I understood the competition. I understood what the judges liked and what they didn't like, because it's all a game a little bit too, you know, like
It makes
the
sense.
referees, like it's not all black and white. Like it's, you know, so you got to be able to like play. It's not to play the game in a bad way. It's you got to play the game. You don't think Tom Brady knows how to play the game a little bit?
Oh yeah.
You know, play the game. Oh, of course he does. So I felt more prepared. I was more mature, and I came in and I started winning instantly. In fact, leading up to the World Games, I think I did 6 tournaments. All 6 tournaments, I won first places. All 6 tournaments, I won tournament champion. All 6. I just cleaned house, cleaned house, cleaned house, cleaned house. I was feeling confident and strong, and I walked into the World Games. And there was someone there from Mexico I had never seen and never competed against, and he was good. And this is a life lesson for me. It doesn't matter how much you prepare. It doesn't matter how much you win up to the big game. I'm standing there looking at this guy, almost feeling upset. Like, wait, who are you? I don't know if I'm better than you or not. You see what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
wait, oh, shoot. And then it's a beautiful life lesson for me. When I train, ooh, can I stand up a little bit?
Sure.
I'm feeling excited. And for me, this goes into what I've been training my staff on and my students on. Like, we have to think bigger. You know, like if we're playing with the game that we have right in front of us, like those chess pieces, and we're like, okay, I'm winning. But wait a second. You're not even preparing for them. You're preparing for the opponent you've never met until World Championship Day. It's a different mindset. So when I would compete, when I would train, I wouldn't train for my competition. I knew the tournament that I was going to go to on the East Coast was going to have a similar competition to the one I had 2 months ago in Pennsylvania, like similar, but I wasn't going to the West Coast tournaments or the like South America tournaments, right? So I knew I had to prepare for the guy I wasn't going to meet until that day. In particular, there was one person that I knew could show up, and I knew I had to be better than him. What's interesting is he did not end up competing in the World Games that year. I'm still very curious because I feel confident that if he had, I still would have won. He was always my toughest competition.
Good. Yeah, that's interesting.
Guy,
You know, a lot of people.
The guy in Mexico, to finish that, we went head to head, and he was my toughest competitor. I won all 3 of my forms divisions. So that's why I'm a 3-time world champion, is because I won 3 different divisions, first place. And then in fighting, I had like 5 fights. I got 3rd place in fighting. That wasn't really my focus, but it was still a fun memory. That's awesome. The end of my story. I don't think a lot of students have heard that, so I really wanted to go a little bit more in depth because it was quite the journey. It was quite the journey for me, and I want people to feel like, ooh, when you go after your goals, it's not always easy. Like it takes sometimes a decade, and you can still do it.
I like the I like the concept of training for the opponent that you haven't met. You know, a lot of times people will only focus on watching game day footage from somebody else, as opposed to there's somebody that you haven't met yet that might not have published something out there. You know, like if you're a high school football player, you know, the coaches always watch the Friday night games of the team that they're going to take on this Friday. You didn't have that privilege of being able to know who this opponent was. And I think if you went into your training with that mindset that someone is out there who's might be more dedicated and, you know, hasn't laid it all out there yet. Good.
100%.
Fantastic. Well, let's see. We are about to start a new cycle in UpLevel. So it's spring's in the air, flowers blooming, bees are buzzing, a warm feeling of hope cradles us all. What's next for UpLevel?
Perfect. Let's take it to UpLevel for a second. I love that. Oh, I couldn't be more excited. I could not be more excited for each individual school. So we have 6 brick and mortar locations. I got to shout out my home school, Charlottesville. That was the original UpLevel, not the original, because we all have history that goes back. We got Fort Mill down here in Charlotte area. We got Valentine, Pineville, Matthews, Indian Land, and Waxhaw. So we got 6 brick and mortar locations. And then we have a shout out to our at-home academy. That's headed up by Mr. William Wegert right now. And we have students training from all over. I know at least like North America. Do we have someone in Europe? I don't
know about Europe, but I know there's at least
a ton in Canada,
Hawaiian.
West Coast. Hawaii. So we have students that are training in the UpLevel martial arts from across the country, and that's amazing. So, but truthfully, going into this next cycle, just like not only the energy of the world and the energy of me, which trickles down, it's got to, like, as leaders, it has to start with us. If I was just constantly doing the next step that I thought I needed to do, but no, I'm pumped. The team below me of the core instructors at the school, they're pumped. A team, hopefully they're pumped. Shout out to our A team. Those are the guys in blue, which, by the way, I'm very excited. Whoa, is that tonight? What's tonight? No.
Today is
The
Thursday.
first Thursday of the month, our A team all gets together from all the schools, and we have what we call A team boot camp. Once a month, all of the helpers, assistants, volunteer sort of crew, we get together and train. And I just think there's so many exciting things. If there's something in particular that you're curious about, I'm happy to speak to it, but I'll just say it very much feels like UpLevel and our students and our energy is about to also blossom with the springtime.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. You also had a video on YouTube. This was probably years ago, while you were still in Charlottesville, and you were in, I want to say, Singapore or Thailand, doing some kickboxing.
Oh yes, Thailand.
Yeah. So like, here you are, this Caucasian guy in a third world country that's known for kickboxing and very aggressive self-defense methods, and you're taking them on.
First of all, you're good. You know some great points that bring up amazing stories. Here's the question: what level of detail do you want to know? Because the story is amazing of what happened, but I could take 5 minutes to tell it. Or do you want like the 10-second version?
Go with the elevator pitch, and then maybe we can do a whole episode on it.
Oh, there we go. That's what we need to do. We could definitely do a story.
We could do a times and travels of Mr. Tim Wegert episode.
I'd love that. I'm
fortunate.
I've been able to go to, I think, 14 countries. I'm so grateful for that.
Good.
Yeah, the quick version would be, I went into a Muay Thai school in Thailand. Muay Thai, it's their martial arts. And fought multiple people. In particular, we had to convince them to even let me spar. They put me in with one person. After a couple minutes of annihilation, they switched him out and put in their champion.
Wait, who was annihilating who? You were annihilating the...
You'll have to wait for the 5-minute story.
Fair. That's interesting, because I remember when they were doing... I remember seeing that video, and when the Battle of the Wegerts came up, the charity events that you guys did a couple of years ago, or have you only done it one time, or have you done it twice?
We did it this last year. We opened it up to we had a junior division as well. It was super amazing. Right.
Yeah, so on the very first one, I was like, Mr. Tim Wegert, he's my pony. He's the one that's going to win it for me. So, and you did. I knew it.
That was it came down to Mr. William Wegert and I, and it was Mr. William Wegert's a great fighter. Honestly, all of my siblings are, and the truth is, we haven't even, if my siblings, if we wanted to go competitive and really get into, we could be really good. It's not something we've trained a ton the last few years, so just like anything else, it goes down. But it was a fun time for sure.
What was cool to watch in that video was I've got brothers, and just the sibling rivalry and the intenseness. Because I remember even when I first started with UpLevel, asking Mr. William Wegert about his experience. He goes, we with the martial arts early, and he was just like, we just get down in the basement and just put our pads on and beat each other up. And you could see that fun and camaraderie that you guys had in that video that you guys put out there on YouTube.
And I want to say, for those listening or watching, if you're like, wait, what is this? If you go to YouTube and just put in Battle of the Wegerts, Wegerts is Wegert and then S. We have a beautiful 15-minute production of the live event that went down. It's super entertaining. We actually put it out during COVID, so that was one thing that we wanted to do during COVID when we couldn't have live events. We had a small gathering at one of the schools for this private event. Wink, wink. We were following all guidelines. Private event, And we had this fight. And we had our Nathan, shout out to him, our amazing videographer for UpLevel.
Happy
And
belated birthday, by the way.
Belated birthday to
Wasn't
Nathan.
it? Yeah, wasn't it just...
Wow, good memory. It was his birthday. It was his birthday a couple weeks ago, and then like 2 days ago was his 2-year like UpLevel anniversary birthday.
That was what it was. That was what it was.
So we put out a fun video. So if you want to go watch, check it out on YouTube.
Nice, gotcha. All right. So of all the places that you've traveled so far, out of those 14 nations that you've been to, what's been your favorite place to travel and why?
For me, it's a toss-up between Italy and Thailand, but I'm going to go with Italy.
For the food, of course.
Why? Food was part of it, and it was the first time going to a country that I have heritage. So I'm Italian, I'm part Italian. And my mother's maiden name is Graziani.
Yeah.
Isn't that so beautiful?
It is. I mean, I'm assuming it means something along the lines of thank you or welcome or something like that, like grazie.
That's a great question. I have no clue, and now I feel a little bit bad about that. What does Graziani mean? Grazie is thank you, right? Graziani. I don't know. That's such a good... I didn't think about this because I've heard it my whole life, so I never correlated.
Yeah.
Guyton, thank you. I'm going to write that down.
That's mine. It's Guyton. It's a guy that weighs a lot.
Wait, for real?
No. It's actually, I think...
Oh, Guyton. Oh.
Yeah.
Actually, I like it. Guyton's nice.
Good.
So back to Italy, though, it was the food was amazing. I went to Rome, and then I was with my partner Anya at the time, which was so amazing because it was the first time that we had traveled together just as like a couple to an international location just for us, not related to a dance event, something like that. So it was a magical time with her, like such a magical time. So that's one reason why it was so memorable. And we went to the Amalfi Coast. Oh my God. So beautiful. So just breathtaking. I could send you like hundreds of photos that I took that were just like, oh my goodness. It was so beautiful. That's why it was my favorite.
Fantastic.
Those 3 reasons.
Good. Now, you also mentioned Mr. Barnes a few moments ago, and
yes.
He's just on the other side of the door there, I assume, or somewhere thereabout.
He's gone now, but yes.
Yeah. And from my understanding is he was the one that coined the term modern day black belt.
Yeah, to the best of my knowledge and understanding, that is correct.
All right. So in your words, how would you describe a modern day black belt, or what is a modern day black belt?
I love this question. A modern day black belt is a black belt that should always represent a leader. It's someone who's different. The truth is it's 1 out of 1,000, like in a way. I don't know what the exact ratio is, but 1,000 people try martial arts, 1 gets their black belt. So
is that true?
Again, not a statistic that is, the point is a lot of people start, not many get their black belt. I don't know what the exact percentage is. The saying comes to mind, right? So black belt has to be different. Then the question is, Mr. Guyton, what does that look like in today's modern times? No longer are we carrying around, a bow staff as we take care of the farm, and we're scared that the neighboring nobility of Japan, the samurai, may come and raid our... No, this is not the time that we live in. It's the time that martial arts, a lot of it was born in, but now we live in a post-modern era, And what does it look like to be a leader on social media? What does it look like to be a leader in a school full of bullies or people that want to keep you at their level? What does it look like to be a leader in your scene, in stepping up and saying, I'll do it. I'll be the one to start this thing. What does it look like to have higher expectations for yourself than the people around you have? For your body, for your mind, for the way that you train. This is why, for me, I'm passionate about setting the biggest example that I can when it comes to being a modern day black belt. I'm so proud of myself. And I'm very fortunate because I had a lot of stepping stones that weren't on my behalf. I have amazing parents that are still together. We were like lower middle. low class, lower middle class, maybe, like, but we had a little bit of money. Like my dad had a good job, and there was 8 kids. There was never money to.
There was no money then.
So exactly. So for me, like I have been very fortunate with things that have put me in a position to be able to then work hard, but I've also worked really hard. And sometimes I think that we forget this in our modern era of like instant gratification, the newest thing instantly, Nope. Hard work, dedication, set goals, work hard, be a badass, like put your 100% into it. This is my goal. This is my goal in my life, and I want to continue to do it. And one reason I want to do it is because I don't want to just talk about it. And that's the other part of being a leader. I I don't want to follow someone who's just talking. I want to follow someone who is leading. And the leader is, we've seen a little picture. They're not on the like chariot, like cracking the whip at everyone else that's carrying the chariot. They're in front of the chariot. Exactly. They're the strong one. Like, let's go, Sparta, And I'm fired up about it because this is where I'm at right now. I'm like, it's time for Sparta. It's time for leadership, for black belt excellence. And I'm calling on all of my UpLevel family. And even if you're not related to UpLevel at all, let's be leaders. Let's be bold. Let's be big. Let's be safe. Let's be kind. There is that other side. We have to be gentle as an artist. We need to embrace both of those sides, the warrior and the artist. And for me, that's what it means to be a modern day black belt.
That's fantastic. Your analogy about the leadership reminded me of something that I haven't thought about in probably like 25 or more so years. Is
wow,
leadership is like a shoestring. If you
hold
lay
on.
out
Leadership is like a shoestring. Okay, keep going.
Mm-hmm. If you lay out a shoestring on a table and you push the little aglet, which is the little hard plastic piece, if you didn't know that word, that's what it's called, aglet.
Aglet?
Aglet.
I'm learning.
Random knowledge. So yeah, it's called an aglet. A-G-L-E-T. I do know how that's spelled.
Oh, I spelled it right. Wow, cool.
Yeah. So
aglet,
if you take the aglet of the shoestring and you push it, what's going to happen to the shoestring?
Oh, like you push it from the backside.
Yeah, like if I have this string here and I take and I lay it out and I push the aglet
together.
Exactly.
It's not going to really move forward. It's just going to push together. It's going to cause squiggles and this.
Exactly. But if you pull the aglet or show it which way to go, it's not going to double up and bind up or anything like that. So leadership is like a shoestring. You can push it all day long. It's just going to buckle on itself. But if you lead it and pull it and show it which way to go, you'll go a lot further and meet your goals.
Wonderful. I love that so much. I love that analogy. The one that I've heard is, and I would tell this to students all the time. Oh, to parents in particular. Parents, you can't push a rope. You have to pull it. Get out there on the floor. Be an example for your kids. Like, don't sit back and be like, come on, Johnny, do this. That's why we have UpLevel. Shout out to UpLevel for being different. We're a family academy. It's not about age segregated classes. It's like, nope, parents, come on. Stop talking. It's time for you to do it. Kids, come here. Oh, and it's amazing what it does. The kid gets to watch mom work hard. And it's like, oh, that's how you work hard. And parents, this thing you're doing all the time anyways, you're setting an example for your kids. It's just like, you got to show them a little bit. You got to like go out front and be like, let's go to class. Not like, go to class. What? They don't want to go to class. That's because there's a language difference. One is, it's time to go to class. One is, come on, let's go to class. And this analogy from me is a beautiful example of not pushing the aglet, but pulling it.
Absolutely. And that's one reason, I want to get back into it is I made a commitment standing in front of the UpLevel community that I'm going to get my black belt and I'm going to. So that's why I'm trying to lead by example with my son is I'm, with the new cycle, I'm start going to classes and invite him to come, but I'm not going to force it. And hopefully he'll just be like, hey, I want to be back into it. And if he chooses his own path, just like you chose your own path rather than getting your college education at Liberty, so be it. Yeah.
I love that. I admire that.
All right. So do you have what I always call a closing thought? And, closing thought. What is
I would love for you to give your closing thoughts first, and then I'll give my closing thoughts.
Well,
Your
first
closing
off,
thoughts, Mr. Geiger.
yeah, first off, it's been
Thanks for doing
absolutely
this. This was
amazing.
fun.
This was tremendously fun. It's something I've wanted to do for a long time, hence my emailing you and nudging you when I saw you in person.
Thank you. Sometimes
I'm
I need
very
reminders.
I'm very happy for you that you've ascended to become the CEO of UpLevel, and
Thank you.
that Sam's trusted you enough to say, here's something that I've worked for my whole life. I trust you with it. You're a good steward of it, and you so far have been, that I've seen. Your energy is phenomenal, and
Thank you.
like, I look forward to future episodes, State of the Communities, or anything like that we decide to do as we promote this podcast. And yeah, so let's just keep the brakes off and keep moving forward. And anything I can do to help you or anybody of the UpLevel community, here I am.
Amazing. Mr. Geiger, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for being a part of UpLevel. Thank you for having me on, for going, and just, I know you're at this point, I'm sure, just volunteering your time to do something that you believe in. And even the fact that you chose UpLevel to kind of focus the podcast around means a lot. So thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for, your time today. And I want to say thank you to everyone who is listening to this point. And the truth is, even if one person is listening, I'm recognizing that one person can change the world. And I want to just maybe charge my UpLevel community, like, you can be different. Little Johnny, 7 years old, you're looking around, you've got so much energy in you, your brain's going crazy. Like, you can be a powerful force for good in this world. I believe in it. I believe in you. It's time to go be a force, it's time to be forged into that leader, one day at a time, one class at a time. So my closing thoughts are, thank you. Closing thoughts are, I'm excited. Just say some emotions that I'm feeling. I'm feeling grateful. I'm feeling excited. I'm feeling optimistic. I'm feeling hopeful for our world, actually. I'm feeling hopeful for our communities. I'm feeling personally fired up. I'm so fired up right now.
I can tell.
Sometimes I've been like so fired up that people can't handle it a little bit, and it's been tricky to find this balance in myself of being gentle and being strong. And I'm grateful for people like Mr. Barnes and Judith that I can sit down and say, this is what I said. I said, as two people that are older than me and I look up to a lot, I said, hey, part of why I'm here is I want calibration. I need you to tell me if I'm off base or if I'm on base. Like, I need some guidance from people that I trust. And I think that'd be my final thing, is like, go find a few people that you can trust. Really trust.
Absolutely.
Go find people that you look up to. Really look up to. Spend time with them. Talk to them.
Mr. Tim Wegert, thank you so much for your time. I see you're already in a grateful pose, and I gratefully thank you for your time today. I know you're very busy, and if there's ever anything we can do for each other, or I can do for you, let me know.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time. Thank you, everyone, for watching or listening, if you did, and have an amazing day. God bless.
A big thank you to Mr. Tim Wegert for taking time out of his busy schedule to film this video. If you couldn't tell, we had a lot of fun talking, and I personally really enjoyed getting to know him better in this episode. Hope you enjoyed it too. And if you're interested in being on a future episode of UpLevel Martial Arts Community Podcast, drop me an email at uplevel.unleash@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and have a great day.
This is Sam Wegert, founder of UpLevel Martial Arts. Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. We hope you found it fun and educational. If you did and it added value to your life, please share this with a friend who you think might benefit, and please give us a 5-star review. Don't forget, work hard, become a black belt leader in your life, and we'll see you in class very soon or in one of our online communities.
Be sure to find and follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, and always at our website, uplevelmartialarts.com.